Welcome to the Brave Healing Podcast. I am Laura DeFranco, the CEO of Brave Healer Productions, where we have a mission to change the world one brave word at a time. And we are here to celebrate another amazing book today, The Wellness Universe Guide to Complete Self-Care, 25 Tools to Achieve Anything is due to hit Amazon in June, you guys. And I have 4 of the amazing authors of this book with me here today. Welcome, Akalon Hollingsworth, Angela Cummings, Ingrid Auer, and Carrie Doubts. Welcome, you guys.
Hi.
Hey. I'm so excited to get into this conversation. It is an amazing conversation when we're talking about and inspiring people to achieve anything that they desire. So you guys get ready. Akalon Hollingsworth is the founder of Soul Strength Kung Fu, which he uses to train people in spiritual Kung Fu warriorship. Angela Cummings is the founder of Live Life, where they teach people how to create a fully non-toxic household that can lead to better health. With the loving energies of the angels and the ascended masters, Ingrid Auer enables spiritual, open-minded people to reveal unknown possibilities for their personal and spiritual growth to turn their life into an amazing experience. And Carrie Doubts is a transformational life coach specializing in helping people going through major life transitions to create a life of purpose and meaning on the other side of change. So before I begin, you guys, I just want to say a special thank you to Anna Pereira, the founder of the Wellness Universe, without whom we would not be here today. Anna had a huge vision for this book and all of the books in our series, and I'm so grateful to her for everything she does for our wellness practitioners around the world. We love you, Anna. Thank you for getting us together on this. So let's talk about achieving anything. Akalon, you are up first. Tell me about this amazing chapter that you wrote.
Well, this chapter, it's chapter 2 in the book, and it's about your spiritual magnificence and overcoming the suffering in the world using your spiritual magnificence, which helps you and the world. It's to encourage you to bring forth what's amazing about you and use it to make the world a better place while enjoying it more yourself, in a nutshell. What I want people to take away is I want people to feel good about themselves and inspired about themselves. The world doesn't necessarily point out people's brilliance or amazingness or spiritual magnificence. And I want to spotlight that and encourage people to be inspired, find it in themselves and be inspired by yourself, and then have fun with it.
So you guys don't know all of the questions I want to ask you today, but one of them is about mindset. And so I'm with Akalon, I'm going to go right there because when I read, and I read the chapter that you wrote for our last book as well. And right away, I knew that I was going to be on a journey with you in my mind, taking responsibility for those thoughts. Talk to me about that a little bit in terms of your Kung Fu warriorship.
Responsibility for your thoughts. Well, sorry, there's so much that wants to come out and be.
It's big, I know. It's a big question.
Something quick. So, you know, I find freedom in it. People can shy away from responsibility. It's like something that gets put on us as unfun. But what I find in this context, responsibility for our thoughts is that we shape by taking responsibility for our thoughts, we're able to fashion the best of ourselves into how we shape the reality that we're living and make it more enjoyable. And as we make it more enjoyable for ourselves, we make it enjoyable for those around us by how they experience us. So it's something that responsibility sounds like an unfun thing, but you can actually have fun with it. But you know, I say people, meditation's a big topic for how to work with one's mind. And there's a lot of different practices for meditation. what I observe and work with is that the mind is always meditating. And we're either letting the world guide that by external stimulus, what our mind is meditating on, or by programming that's built up over the course of our life that sort of defaults. What I advocate for is you consciously meditate. You direct your mind's meditations by taking responsibility for your thoughts and what comes of them.
Akalon, that is what you do for me in your chapters. You give me the tool to do exactly what you just said. It's either we are controlled by all of the circumstances around us and we just let that stuff go, or we choose. And this is a topic, seriously, I could talk about all day long. I'm going to ask all of you a little bit more about this later. But thank you, Akalon, and really all of you first of all, for saying yes. Thank you for saying yes to this project. But also, in addition to the authentic, amazing stories you're all sharing, you said yes to the challenge of writing the tool in a way that the reader could have a practical experience. And that takes a badass, seriously. Like, it's one thing, you all are master teachers and you can do this with your clients all day, but to write that in black and white in a way that people really have a practical experience, that it's amazing. So I thank all of you for doing that so well. Angela, talk to me about your amazing chapter.
Sure. My chapter is chapter 21. It's detoxifying your home to maximize your health with cleaner indoor air. And the chapter starts out with my personal story. So I myself have gone through sort of a rolling list of illnesses and challenges in health that the doctors couldn't quite figure out for like eight years. And so through my own personal journey, I ended up learning that there's toxins in our homes, like in places that are incredibly, like I had no idea, and so many people don't. And so those toxins have been tied to health conditions like inflammation and bad allergies and like all kinds of things. And so through my own personal journey, I had the opportunity to learn this in a very deep and personal way. And when I work with clients to detox their home, to really clean it up and choose non-toxic products so that their indoor air quality is healthy, and then thereby their bodies can be healthy and heal as they're intended to. So while it was my own personal health journey and my experiences aren't exactly their experiences, because none of us, have the exact same journey, I'm able to use what I've learned and help them in their own personal journey and really meet them where they're at by looking at their own personal illness, their own air quality, and then helping them transform their homes into a healthy home. And what we've seen along the way is super exciting. Like when all these changes start to improve their health, I love seeing them get super excited and start to feel better. And it's just such a blessing. So that's how the chapter starts, is my own personal journey, and then sharing one of the tools with the readers. And the tool that I chose to share was detoxing your closet. So this is about like your all of your clothing, like your pajamas and shirts and pants and everything, how to find those in a entirely non-toxic way. So not just looking at like the whether it's made of like cotton or polyester or organic cotton, but also taking it one step deeper to looking at like the dyes and the finishes and stuff. And so there's a lot of detail in that, but in the chapter, it's really about the most simplest way to find that. So it's looking for one thing instead of this whole list of things. So really trying to simplify it. And there's also always the and factor in that. So let's look for healthy clothing, non-toxic clothing that also meets whatever your desires are. So whether that's comfortable clothes or clothes that look good or professional, or, so there's always that and factor too, like when it comes to individuals.
I appreciate your ability to simplify what can be a pretty overwhelming topic. And I think that's another thing all of you do really well. And Angela, it's just like when we think about achieving anything, we have to have a healthy body first. We have to feel good first. Talk to me more about that.
Yeah, definitely. Both physically and mentally. So these changes really impact both. And that's exactly like once we start to feel better, we start to have energy that we didn't know we have. So that enables us to achieve anything. Also, it's this upward spiral. Like once you start to feel better, then other things come into our space and we're like, oh my gosh, we can do this or change this or, make these transformations or just even have more energy, like for our kids and our spouses and our friends and more patience. And actually, that was one of the things in my own personal journey that I realized that I didn't have. So I had like less patience with my son, who was very young at the time. And as I started to feel better, I'm like, oh, wow, I feel like I'm a better mom even now because I have so much more patience and bandwidth, for him and everyone.
That is such a good feeling to feel in yourself with your kids. I totally get that. Of course, from having the example of both ends of the spectrum, as well as all parents do, I'm assuming. Thank you, Angela. Ingrid, I want to hear about this beautiful chapter that you wrote, and this is another book for you, and I've so enjoyed reading about my angel connections. You have helped me get in touch with that. Angela said and I want to say it in terms of Ingrid's world. When you dabble, when you dip your toe in and you get an idea of what's possible, then there's the and you can take it to all kinds of interesting other levels, right? So Ingrid, tell me about your chapter.
I have been working as a gynecologist and a coach for many years. And I realized that many people cannot achieve anything because they haven't dissolved their limitations. They haven't dissolved their fears, their blockages. And when you talk about angels, some people think you have to lean back and ask the angel to fulfill every wish like the fairy, or you have to pray. I have a little bit different approach to angels because I experienced that angels can help us on the physical, mental, emotional, and of course, energetic, spiritual level. And I worked together with them also to clean the aura, the chakras, the morphogenetic field, and also the multidimensional DNA. So it's a very practical work I do. And I have channeled and created spiritual tools, but I won't talk about this in detail, of course. What I did in my chapter, I asked myself, how can we ask angel to support us to dissolve our blockages and all belief patterns and thinking patterns we get when we grew up? This was our environment, was blocked or limited in thinking about things. And therefore I thought, I'm the angel lady in this book, or one of the angel ladies in this book, and I would like to share meditation. And then I had the idea to offer also the same meditation as an audio meditation, which you can find then on my Wellness Universe profile. And I worked with 8 archangels. The first archangel helps us to give us clarity about negative thoughts and feelings. The second helps us to remember where our limitations come from. The third helps us to be grounded and centered, which is very important when we are anxious or insecure, or when we want to change our life. We have to be centered and focused. The fourth angel supports us to overcome our fears. The fifth angel gives us very clear images what we want to change, because we cannot change if we don't if you don't know what, sometimes it's a journey to do the first steps and then it becomes clearer, but this angel can help us to get it clearer. The next angel helps to heal our blockages, because sometimes you have the blockages in your physical body. The next angel encourages us to jump into the cold water despite our fear. And the last angel helps us to show our way out of our limitations. So I take you in a story, walking from one angel to another, and if you open up, if you are ready for this, then you can get the angel energy into your body, into your physical body, into your subtle bodies, into your aura and chakras. And sometimes you feel one angel stronger than the other. So you know where is your lack of angel energy, or you need more support. So it's a journey. I take you through an angel journey.
And who knew we had this football team on our side? Like that. What's so fun to me is, and I love the question, what else is possible? And your work, it helps me ask that question all the time and wonder about that question. So if we need work with one particular angel, how do we know?
First of all, we have to know which angels exist. You have to get into the most important angels. And then you can close your eyes and then you ask the angels, who is here right now? And then you will get an impulse, or you will hear his name, or you will feel the energy. So when I talk to my angels, sometimes I close my eyes and say, guys, come on, I would need you around my table. And I discuss with them like friends. And sometimes I'm crying, sometimes I'm shouting, sometimes I'm whispering, sometimes I'm impatient. Everything is okay for the angels, because they know we are humans. And they admire us, because they say we couldn't lead the life you humans do. They admire us. They have never been there, and therefore it's not a shame to be weak and to cry if you need the support of an angel. But you have to be very intuitively and open, and then they are here, even if you don't know the name.
I love that, Ingrid. Thank you so much. Carrie, talk to me next about your amazing chapter.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be part of this book and with all of these wonderful authors. So my chapter is chapter 5, and it's Life Transitions Are Transformational Opportunities. And I specialize in helping people through major life transitions. And it's a process really of helping people understand, sort of get a sense of where they are in a transition journey. And the interesting thing about what happened as I was submitting my chapter was that my husband died, and it was kind of suddenly. And I got myself thrown into this this pot of making sure that I would apply to myself that which I am talking about in my chapter. And so it has been an opportunity for me to really step back and sort of orient myself to where am I in this transformational process that I'm going through, going from being a wife to, well, what's next for me? I don't necessarily like the word widow. It's a single person again. And so there are ways that if you can understand the process and relax into it and cooperate with it emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, socially, on all of these levels, if you slow down and meet yourself where you are in the process, it really helps to not sort of kind of get yourself overly worked up about the whole thing. The more that we can relax and cooperate into what wants to happen in our lives on the other side, the life that you want to create on the other side of this major life change, the way you can access all of your wisdom, all of your intuition, all of your ways of knowing, and get them to work together rather than feeling split off or separate. It really helps. It really helps. And so, yeah, that's where I am right now, living this sort of emptying place in my life and getting ready to co-create, with spirit what's next. And the tool that I really rely upon personally and also with my clients is meditation. And meditation can come in many forms. So some people like a different style of meditation where it's just going quiet, or some people like meditating on an object or something like that. I have found that guided meditations are really good for me because it keeps me in the flow of the process. So it has been my way of keeping myself really aligned and paying attention to what's going on. And as I said, what wants to happen? What's the transformational opportunity inside of this? Because all transitions, all major life changes, they do include grief. Even if it's something that you asked for or that you wanted, there's going to be loss inherent in the change. So we embrace that, we meet it where you are, and move forward in a way that feels right to you. So that's my work, that's my chapter, that's my life at the moment.
I'm sending you so much love for your loss. I know I speak for everybody, and your ability to walk your walk during these last couple of months when we were sort of in the heat of this project. I will call it impressive. I will call that a warrior. And I appreciate you so much for sticking with us and being here and really showing people that even in the greatest moments of loss, you can still live in those moments, and you can still do things. I appreciate that very much. So I'm sticking with you, Carrie, for this next question that I'm going to come around to all of you for. And so I really believe that one of the first steps to achieving what you want is actually knowing what you want. And I've talked to a lot of people who woke up somewhere along the line and realized they'd been living everyone else's dreams and not truly in touch with their own. So what I want to know is, how did that play out in your personal journey?
That's such a great question. It played out in my life. I've had my business is called Life's Next Chapter Coaching. I've had many different chapters in my life. And one of the chapters in my professional life was I worked in an educational institution that granted master's degrees in counseling psychology and spiritual psychology and consciousness health and healing, which is my background. And I worked for that organization for 20 years. I was the vice president of education, and then became like the dean of students and things like that. So it was important work. I loved the work, and yet it was also work that was really about forwarding other people's work. And at the time, I was starting to realize that there were things inside of me that I wanted to step into and own more fully, and own my voice and own my work. And so it was really a difficult process for me to leave that important work that I was doing for someone else in order to follow my own dream, which felt so big. And how am I really going to do that? And yet I knew I had to. I knew it was the next step. And so as Ingrid was saying, it's just like taking that fear. And I think I did have a lot of angels working with me at the time of, you just need to step forward and feel the fear and do it anyway. And I couldn't be happier with my choice. I've been doing this work for over 10 years now, and it really is my life's calling.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that piece. And y'all are so willing to share your authentic stories, and those pieces that are personal to you, I truly believe are the most universal. They are the pieces where people find themselves with a little bit of head nod whiplash because they resonate so much. Ingrid, for you, how did that play out in your journey in terms of just getting in touch with your own desires?
I was about 28 when I realized that my life was in a dead-end street, and I didn't know what to do, what to change. Then I started in some very strong life crisis. I always call it my early midlife crisis, was 28 to 35. And at this time, I opened up for spirituality, or for alternative things like astrology, for kinesiology, everything. I read every book I found, and I could feel inside myself there's like a treasure I couldn't find. I had no access to this treasure. And I was frustrated because I had how do you call 9 to 5 job, and which was very boring. And in my crisis, I got in touch with the angels for the very first time on their conscious level. And I said to them, angels, I want to know what's going on. I want to know why I'm here on planet Earth and what is my mission. And I could feel more and more that my mission has to do with spirituality and with angels. And I just was open. I said, I am ready. I'm ready to find my way, my path, my mission, but please give me the impulses. Please bring me to the people that have a message for me. And this was a way. It took me about 5 years, I think. It was not from one day to another. It was really a path. It was a walk. And it became clearer and clearer and clearer. And one day I knew, and everything changed. My life changed. Of course, my marriage changed. This is not necessarily for everyone, but in my case, because this was one of my biggest blockages and my biggest learning steps. I'm thankful for this. And then I really had to jump. I had to jump from an intellectual job into a spiritual job. And sometimes I thought, oh my gosh, are you getting crazy now? You are writing about angels, you are talking with angels. And then I heard, go on. And therefore I went on this path, and everything came into my life. I opened up and everything came into my life. And the more I wanted with my brain, with my mind, with my intellect, the more I blocked, the more I let go and open, the more it came from itself. Because I believe, this is my personal belief, that we have a special life plan which we created before we came into this life. And sometimes we go detours because we have to learn something different, or this is a preparation of what we are doing later. And in this case, it was the right moment when I opened up, and one came to another. And so, of course, we have to be self-responsible. We have to take care. We have to work. Yeah. But everything else is coming into our life because it's already part of our life.
Thank you, Ingrid. I love listening to you talk about opening up. It's really about being open to what's right there in front of you sometimes, right? Angela, talk to me about this in terms of your journey.
Yeah, so for me, I always had this like just inner knowing. So like as I was, on this whole journey with illness, and doctors were working hard to try to figure it out. And the answer that I kept running into was basically medications. And so I started becoming allergic to the medications, which really sort of forced the hand of like, okay, something, you got to look at this different. And when I got really quiet and just kind of in touch with what was going on, while I didn't know exactly what it was, I knew that there was something deeper going on. Like I just had this feeling. At one point I had a doctor tell me that this is the best it's going to get. And my whole internal like centered self was like, no, this is not it. I know this isn't it. So it was very intuitional for me. And then basically kind of the journey to uncover it was following that intuition. So the more that they kept telling me, this is it, there's nothing more, I kept thinking, okay, there's got to be patterns, there's got to be something, and so as I just followed my intuition, that started uncovering patterns, which then led me to researching, which then kind of unfolding the whole process. And also I kept feeling like I wanted more out of life. So part of the groups that I was in talked a lot about sort of the more, I don't want to say depressive side, but sort of that like super serious, like, which it is. I mean, it was like, this is not, you're going down a road that cycles down. And I kept thinking, I keep seeing cycling up. So there was, something to that. So I just kept following that, and eventually everything unfolded. And once I started to feel better, I knew that I needed to share this with other people, because really in my heart of hearts, like my heart aches for people that are going through illness and that, they haven't been able to figure out, and really this deep, deep desire to support them as they go through their own transformation on this upward cycle of like healing and feeling so much better.
Thank you, Angela. Akilon, how about you in terms of just getting in touch with what you wanted and understanding that being this launch pad for achieving those things?
Try to keep this brief so we can get to other questions as well. I love the more questions to answer, the more fun this gets. So I'll try to be brief here. I want to say in a general sense, as far as finding what we want to do, the world kind of discourages, the world can make it hard to determine what we want to do because of a paradigm belief of what's possible. The world is a certain way, and there's a certain level of dysfunction in humanity that we're never going to get past. And so to think beyond that is kind of frowned upon as, well, why bother? We can't do better than we're already doing as humanity struggles. And when I was a child, I had a sense of we can do better. And having this low bar of we're only human and this is the best we can do, the dysfunctional relating that we do with each other. And I thought, what I was noticing is I was bringing out the worst in us, that low bar. And so I'm compelled to raise the bar of our perception of what we can do. That's why I focus on spiritual magnificence in people. And I want people to get enthusiastic about themselves and what they're able to do. Now, so I've had this calling already. This isn't as quick as I was hoping I was going to make it. Sorry, people.
You're good.
So now you're asking about me specifically with this. And I have a calling that, as far as my contribution to help humanity mature into spiritual magnificence and beyond the abuse culture and the dysfunction, and really get to enjoyable living together in culture and society. I have a big lofty goal with this. My part that I'm stepping up into with bringing spiritual Kung Fu warriorship to the world, there has been a what the heck response for many years as to what I'm even talking about with friends and family and people that love and adore me. And yet it's not in people's common reference points. So I've had a lot of just I'm decades into this, and I just keep doing and moving forward, even though I don't have a lot of people in my life joining in saying, this is awesome. And how's it going? And tell me what the latest development is. And I mean, crickets in a lot of times. And I just keep going forward anyway, out of this drive to this is who I am and what I'm about. And I so much want to inspire people in their own enthusiasm for themselves and their capabilities and bring my piece to the puzzle of making this world better, that even if my friends and family don't know what the heck I'm really doing and don't necessarily show an interest, they have a general support. But it's just, I'm driven to keep going anyway, because what I'm driving for, what I'm called to bring into the world and to help people in the way that I'm
I feel you, man.
it's a passionate exuberance that,
yes.
that pulls me forward, even if what my efforts are met with crickets or acclaim either way, or whether the world says it's possible or not. There's this thing in my soul that says, this is what I'm here to do, so this is what I'm doing. And I just keep moving forward to the next connection and the next connection, inspiring people in themselves. Okay, that was longer than
I love that so much. You guys, I just made a post on Facebook the other day about editing healer speak and just the challenge, but the mission I have. So, you know, don't get me started on this one because it'll all sound very much like Akalon here is, I have to be a translator, and it's the mission to get these messages out into the world in a way that people really do get it, and that there aren't crickets anymore, and that we're sparking people's joy. And that, again, back to that, what else is possible? Something else is possible, giving them hope, right? This is such a perfect segue. So thank you, Akalon. I'm moving back over to Angela to answer this first. And this is such a great way to transition to this question. But Angela, I want to know, what is one thing that you are most passionate about when it comes to helping people understand that we can truly achieve anything? One thing.
One thing I'm most passionate about, that healing physically and mentally through detoxing our home and our bodies leads to all of this great stuff that we're talking about on this call today. And my deep passion is really seeing people embody that and the joy that it brings. And that lights me up.
Yes, I love it. Thank you. Okay, Akalon, I'm coming back to you.
Oh, that was a quick.
It's going to be a quick one. Give me that one thing that just you start to get fired up about it.
Being an antidote to suffering and helping others be an antidote to suffering.
I love that. That could be a tagline.
It boils down to that. And that involves removing barriers to enjoyment. I have all these lofty visions for a healthier culture that I've been carrying for all these years. And I realized a few years back, you know, really all this is about is removing barriers to enjoyment. So let's enjoy.
I love that as well. And I love, you know, it's one of the reasons for these books, because we can say something in one way and it's not going to resonate with everybody. But if we say it in 25 ways, then you're going to be able to pick up the book and you're going to be able to hear it in the way you need to hear it. Thank you, guys. I know sometimes answering the question second or third or fourth is harder, but it's important. I love the way y'all are answering these questions. Carrie, same question for you. What's that one thing that just turns you on about helping people understand they can achieve anything?
Well, I think similar to what's being shared here, it's to help people when they're going through something really hard and that all of their stress reactions are in play, to help them remember that that's not who they are, that at the core of their being is they're capable, whole, resourceful, and creative, and to keep connecting them back to who they truly are. You may be going through a really tough time, that you are capable, resourceful, whole, and creative, and you will thrive beyond this.
Yes, so important. Thank you. Ingrid, what about you?
It's about remembering people that they are never alone. They have a lot of support, even they don't see them. They have their guardian angels, they have archangels, they have helper angels, and sometimes they know better their way, or the way of the client or the person, than the client or person himself. And you always can lean back. You have to trust, and you have to make your experience, but you are never alone. And there are more helpers than you ever can imagine.
Okay, so Ingrid, so last question for all of you. Okay, I think we have time for this. It's a biggie though, watch out. I know that we can all talk about these things forever, but Ingrid, I'm gonna stick with you for this last one. So many authors, maybe all of you, have a component of mindset in your chapter, the way that you're helping people think and practice. And to me, mindset is a choice we get when we practice awareness. So can you share one of your mindset ideas or practices that helped you the most and maybe will help our listeners?
I'm not sure if it is a mindset. I think it's very important to be honest to yourself, to be self-responsible before you start your way. You should be aware of who you are and believe in your possibilities, in your abilities. And this is a process. I know it's not always easy, but to be honest, to be ready, to be open, and to be beyond or get out of limitations, of mental limitations, of old belief systems, of old thinking patterns, and to free yourself from this old stuff. Yeah, then you are reborn and ready for something new. I hope this answers your question.
Yes, definitely. I love it. Thank you. So Angela, how about you? What's a mindset idea or practice that's helped you?
Curiosity. And really playing with like, what's in this, you know, so being really super curious and understanding from that standpoint. And then the play comes in of like, okay, so now I have this information, and what if I just tried? What could possibly happen, you know? And so just going along that line has been very powerful.
One of my
and a lot of fun. Sorry.
Yes, one of my absolute favorites. Because if you can pop out of judgment and into curiosity, everything changes. That one is a powerful one. Thank you. Akalon, how about, I know you have like 100 of these. What would be one way that you think about mindset, a practice you use that you think might help our listeners?
Well, I'm going to speak to a perception rather than a practice right now. And it ties into spiritual magnificence, that it's very likely people are spiritually magnificent in ways they don't notice in their day-to-day life. And that spiritual magnificence manifests in mundane day-to-day living experiences and in unlikely places as far as what people generally perceive. In my chapter, when I wrote chapter 2, I gave 2 examples of spiritual magnificence in places I don't think people would think to look for spiritual magnificence. One is a situation where I was processing suicidal thoughts. I was suicidal and I was processing and I was in public. And there was, in that situation, I don't think people think of they can have spiritual magnificence come out of them in a suicidal feeling or a transition experience to with a struggle, all right, as they go through a struggle. I give an example of that, spiritual magnificence in that type of situation. The other example I give is a story where I was attacked physically and in a public situation as well. And that's a situation I don't think people tend to think of. There can be spiritual magnificence that comes out in how you handle that situation, like being attacked. So I give two unlikely situations perceptionally. But so you can read the chapter for that, but I want people to think of spiritual magnificence coming out of them in their day-to-day regular experiences. And it doesn't have to be a lofty, grandiose thing. And so I want to point them in that direction perceptually, so they start noticing where it comes out, and feel good about that.
I love that. Somebody else mentioned it earlier too, that I think it was Ingrid who said, you know, the angels are impressed with us because we are living the human experience, which is the most challenging. We have to apply all of these principles, and we have to deal with all of the normal things of life, some more traumatic than others. And I like to think about the mindset there and understanding that a little bit. And I'll just use that word warrior again, because we're all living a life with, you know, shit that happens, and we have to understand who we're going to be in those moments. And that response is so important to the life that you live. Carrie, round us out here, last but not least. You know, you've suffered a huge loss this year, and your mindset is going to be really important. What's something that's helped you?
Acceptance. Acceptance of all of your feelings. Acceptance of everything that you're going through, not making yourself wrong for it, not trying to push it away, not trying to talk yourself out of it, just accepting, breathing into. And yet at the same time, meeting the feelings that you're having with compassion, with your best self, with your best, being your own best friend in this. And yet at the same time, reminding yourself that all of these feelings might be in play. The feelings are not facts. We can feel a certain way about something and make decisions or judgments about the world based on our feelings, and that we're doing ourselves a disservice. So just to meet the feelings that they have information for you, that they have, there's grace in accepting them, and yet not letting them run you in terms of making decisions or being who you are, or like you said, choosing who you're going to be in your situation.
Oh my goodness. You guys, these are the authors and the stories and the tools to literally achieve anything. I hope that as you listened today, you felt that spark of possibility and hope, and understanding that there are so many different ways to go about achieving the things that you want in life and meeting those goals and having the joy show up in all of the ways, right? Authors, thank you so much for what you do in the world and for being here today to share it with everybody.
Thank you, Laura.
Thanks for having us.
This has been fun.
So listeners, please remember to join us on June 22nd, 10 a.m. Eastern on Anna Pereira's Circles of Inspiration page on Facebook, because we're having our live stream book launch party to celebrate all the 25 tools to achieve anything authors. They're going to be there to share their wisdom. And as usual, we are going to have some pretty amazing giveaways for our book purchasers that day. And if you're sitting here listening to us after June 22nd, well, that means you can get your butt over to Amazon and pick up your own copy of this amazing book. You're going to want to have this on your bookshelf. And lastly, everybody, I want you to remember something. That fear of not good enough, it's boring. What if the thing you're still a little afraid to share is exactly the thing someone needs to hear to change or even save their life, it's time to be brave. See you next time, everybody. Bye, authors.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.